Section 7. Detailing the structural elements. Now we come to the detailings of the structural element, where all the details within the structural elements are to be clearly illustrated to the contractor so that they know how they're going to construct the structural element. The information will include the dimensions of the section, the reinforcement bar in the members, the shear links, the embedded length, the lapping, and etc. You know that these detailings are on basis of the structural key plan, which based on the structural key plan, analysis and design will be carried out, and the design outcome should build on the requirement that the entire section needs to pass all the structural considerations, and the outcome of the design will be presented in the detailings of the structural elements. In these sections, we're going to discuss about how you can detail out the structural element and what are the considerations when you produce the structural elements. Without further ado, let us get started. Before we look into the details, first you need to aware of certain things. The first one, it will be the common language as used in the structural plan as well as the detailings. The entire thing need to be consistent, and this is commonly understood by all the parties along the pipeline in the constructions of the buildings. It is about the line type and the width. First, it should be solid line at the discontinued edge. That means you can clearly see the edge. Then the solid line it will be used. Second, the hidden line at the continuous edge. This one is applicable for the structural key plan and also for the side view of the beam. Because you are looking at the beam section in front, when the beam has two adjacent slabs, the edge that you can see it will be the solid line, and the other slab which is positioned behind the beam where you cannot clearly see the edge of the slab, then that will be the hidden line. By looking at the line here, you will know that which slab it will be in front of the beam and which slab it will be behind the beam. This will be especially obvious when the two adjacent slabs are not at the same level, where you will have solid lines and hidden line across the beam. And this solid and hidden line are not to be confused with the line that represent the reinforcement bar. Normally, the line width will be slightly different. The line used to represent the reinforcement bar normally will be thicker, demonstrating that is the reinforcement bar, as compared to the solid and the hidden line representing the edge of the slabs. Next, the hidden line needs to be differentiated from the grid line. Normally, the grid line will use the line representing the center line. It is not hidden line. This is to prevent the confusions that the grid line is also a hidden line. And in the case that there are some void, you will need to indicate the cross line, similar concept that you adopt for the structural key plan. Next, you need to be careful with the printing issues. These are another thing that most of our students did not consider. It will only be after printing, and normally after the student printed their drawing, very seldom they will look into the printed outcome. I will recommend to you, once you've done the printing, please check carefully every single line, as if you don't do the proper setting in terms of the line type and line width, you will have problem with the printing, and this will affect the quality of the printing. You need to aware that there is a high possibility that your technical drawing to be printed in black and white. Even the proper blueprint or the proper technical drawing to be used on site, it is normally also printed in black and white. Very seldom the structural plan will be printed in colors. And you know that it is very costly to have the drawing to be printed in colors, especially for one building you have so many pages of technical drawing. Imagine that every technical drawing, if really printed in the industry, it should be in the mode of A1, which is extremely big. Unless the company have a proper plotter, otherwise, if you do the printing from certain commercial printing shops, this is going to cost you a lot of money. Normally, structural plans will be printed in black and white. As for the students, normally students are not required to print in A1, but there are chances that the drawings are printed in A3 papers. You have to be careful with the scale. It would be good if you indicate the scale when the technical drawing to be printed in A1, and also use some simple calculations for you to calculate the printed scale when it is in A3. And you want to confirm whether your calculation is correct, print one page in A3 and then use the rulers to measure in order to cross-check the ratios. Knowing that the papers is going to be printed in black and white, that means the selections of your line, especially the colors, you will have to be very careful. Go for the colors which can easily be contrast, and avoid the colorful line such as yellow and cyan, because due to the light color of the line, when printed in black and white, the line might not be as obvious. You have to be careful about this. Next, we talk about the issue of some missing line during printing. Sometimes this happens, especially when you have the drawing brought forward from the architect, and when you want to print something, even though you see the lines on your computer screen, but when being printed out, there will be some line missing. I believe there must be some reasons for this, which you know that the architect, they are more familiar with this AutoCAD software. They deal with it nearly every day, and the features they use are much more advanced than us. Personally, I also not sure what's happened with those lines. Maybe someone can enlighten me on this. Sometimes they will be missing line. In order to resolve this, you have to change the line type, or you use a totally new file in the AutoCAD, move the drawings into that AutoCAD file under certain preset line type, and you try to print it again, see is there any missing line. If the problem persists, you might need to troubleshoot what is the reason behind it. Personally, I don't have the answer for this. If you could, give me some ideas. What is the main reason of it? Next, you need to be careful with the grid line. Try not to overlay with the hidden line. This happens in the structural key plan, where when you have the grid line and the hidden line overlay onto each other, the gap between the line sometimes fill in each other, and eventually when you print it in black and white, you see a solid line after printing. This gives the wrong information to the contractor that certain slab has the continuous edge, which is not the case in your design. So you have to be careful of this. The moral behind this story here is you will need to test print several pages of your technical drawing and ask somebody else to check on behalf of you. Check every single aspect. Is it comprehensive enough? Are the line contrast enough? Any missing lines? Any overlaying of the grid line and the hidden line? You need to make sure the informations are effectively delivered as per your intention. You don't want the printing to be one of the reasons that you give wrong information to the contractors.